your right hand have the history of our project, which we've done. We've actually been in business since 1987, but this is a project we did in 1997. I recognize it as the Nigerian Conservation Foundation that has the longest canopy walk in West Africa. I think that's a big deal. We also did this airport in Warri. We've done several airports. I think one of the great things about ATO Architects is that we have a very diverse portfolio from aviation, residential, all kinds of buildings we've done. And then finally, our most popular project, the Federal Inland Revenue Service project. This was actually the first time we did proper multidisciplinary BIM, where we had structural BIM models, mechanical BIM models, there was a common data environment, we did work sharing. It was really interesting, and even down to the components, the families that were specified, they came directly from the manufacturers as well. So it's a really interesting project where we got to showcase that type of work.
ATO Studios has been asked to design the plaque for the BIM Africa Innovation Awards 2021.
So while I was thinking about this, I thought about representing that level of detail thing where something goes from not very detailed to an increasing amount of detail. And then initially I started to play with the concept of Africa. Of course, it's a bit too obvious to have an award like this that's shaped like Africa, even though that's kind of where I started. So I started thinking, okay, BIM Africa, building construction. So I went with the rectilinear box form that ended up as, which is typically what most buildings are represented as. And then this idea of collaboration, interconnectedness, fluidity, that networking kind of thing, because BIM primarily is about collaboration. So I was thinking of a way to visually represent that concept, as well as tying it back to the Africa side, to think about things like our traditional hairdressing and all of that. It's kind of interesting to have this metaphorical crowning achievement, so to speak, which is the award that you're receiving. So I went back with that, thinking about level of detail, the box form, and then I used something which is really popular in computational design terms, which is the Voronoi diagram. The Voronoi is essentially creating a pattern from the closest points. So it seemed ideal to represent the concept of network, interconnectedness, collaboration, and also tie back to the kind of patterns and textures and dynamism you have in the African context. So that's basically what informed the design, and we knew from the get-go that we wanted something innovative for the production. We only had a few options, either 3D printing or laser cutting or using like a CNC machine. And we have a 3D printer in the office, so we've always been able to prototype. I think I did this for one of the options after designing it, just to see if it would hold, essentially. And so one good thing about 3D printing is you're not constrained by what is possible basically by human hands or manually. You're able to get exactly what you designed. So I didn't want a design that would be simple enough that a person could actually make it by hand. And so once we decided that we're going to go with 3D printing, we had already collaborated with our manufacturer and workshop just before. So that really did inform the design process, so that we could basically go as crazy as possible and have something at the end of the day that shows the innovation in production. Now, interestingly, 3D printing has its own constraints as well. It's not, it gives you creative liberties, but at the same time, you have to think about the constraints of time and cost, because it can be quite time intensive, as well as cost intensive, to be honest. So we went a bit to the far right in terms of craziness of the idea, and then had to kind of really back it so that we could produce it in time and at the right quality that we wanted. So, in summary, the process has been very enlightening. I think we've learned a lot more in terms of specifying or creating models for 3D printing, and also pushing this idea of design directly to manufacture rather than design first, then try to document, then try to get a person to make it. And it opens up many possibilities when you think about the fact that buildings are going to be 3D printed very soon. So there's practically no restriction. If you can get exactly what you designed, then sky is the limit. So head on over to awards.bimafrica.org and nominate outstanding professionals in our industry. Thank you.